Hey, I'm Luke. I love to invent new stuff and make existing things better. For the last 2 years, I have been experimenting with alcohol stoves and cook kits for camping, bug out bags. Where's all my fellow stove hackers at? This tray is not a complete representation of all my experiments. This is just what fit on the tray. There's some really interesting things that I've learned over the last couple years, some principles and some things that I think some of you might be interested in, so I might show you those in another video, but not today. For today, I want to set this aside and I want to talk to you about my favorite DIY $10 cook kit. This is the cook kit to rule them all. All right, I want to show you how I turned this mug into this cook kit. This cook kit has everything you need. It's got the pot, it's got the pot stand, it's got the burner, and it's got a windscreen all together out of this mug. Okay, so I want to show you how I did that today. I was looking for something that is simple, something that is durable. That's why I went with stainless steel. Now, stainless steel is heavier than, say, aluminum or titanium. And if you wanted to go with something lighter, you could play around with the same kind of design in aluminum or titanium. This weighs about 14 ounces all in, and that's definitely heavier than some of the titanium or aluminum options. For myself, I like the durability of stainless steel, and I just don't have to worry about it, and it's not expensive. So yeah, simple, durable, inexpensive. This is what I came up with. This cup cost me about $4 and change. There's a version of this that's the Ozark Trail brand at Walmart for about $9. And both of those are knockoffs of the Yeti Rambler 30-ounce cup. Any of those will work. I recommend just using the cheapest you can get because you're going to drill it full of holes. But just something that has a slight taper on the upper section, it necks down here, and then it has a slight taper on this lower narrow section as well. These work great. Okay, let me show you how this works now, and then we will talk about how I built it while this is actually heating up. This lid is off of my Stanley Adventure cook pot. Most of you guys have one of these. They're fantastic. I love mine. I actually have a version of this that I've done for this Stanley pot that I could show you in another video. For this video, I'm just borrowing this lid because it fits on this mug perfectly. You could make your own lid if you didn't have one of these handy. Inside, I have a lighter, I have a bottle of alcohol, and I have 2 stainless steel skewers. I've cut these down a little bit from their original length. These were just out of the grill section. For a couple of bucks I got a pack of these, and I just used 2 of them for this design. Okay, now the cup itself, I have cut it around the outside just below the top rim, and that allows me to actually pull the outer layer off of the inner layer. This outer layer is going to be our pot stand, it's going to be our alcohol burner, and it's going to be a windscreen all in one. Okay, now around the inner layer I have a cozy that I built. I'll talk about that in a minute, but let's go ahead and get this stove rolling. And then the inner layer is going to be our pot itself. Take the inner layer. Now I'm going to pour 3 cups of ordinary cold tap water in here. Most of the boil tests that you'll see on YouTube use 2 cups or even 1 cup. For myself, I like a big cup of coffee and a hot meal, oatmeal or whatever. Find it hard to do that with less than 3 cups. So if you were going to only boil 2 cups, it'll go even faster than what I'm about to show you. Okay, so I've got my 3 cups of water in here. Put my Stanley Adventure lid on top of that. Flip this little wire bail handle up. I'm going to take my 2 skewers. I'm going to run these through holes that I've drilled in the outer shell, just like this. Okay, that's going to serve as my pot stand. Take the alcohol. I'm going to pour a little over an ounce of alcohol in. Okay, that looks pretty good. Should be enough. Okay, take my pot. I'm going to set it in on top of those skewers. And I'm looking for about an even 1/4 inch gap all the way around so that the heat channels up the outside of this pot evenly. Take my lighter, light it, and just hold it up to one of these holes. There we go. Okay, that's lit. Let's go ahead and start a timer. Now let me tell you a little bit more about how I built this. Okay, what you're gonna do, you're gonna take your Yeti Rambler style cup and you're gonna draw 3 lines around it. One of the lines, I'm gonna take the lid off here. One of the lines you're gonna draw 5/8 of an inch down from the top edge. Just flip the cup upside down, take a Sharpie marker, set it on a stack of cards so that it comes out, the tip comes out at 5/8 of an inch. Give the cup a spin, you get your line, done. The second line is gonna be about a 1/4 inch above where this neck comes out. So right about there, a 1/4 inch above that. And then your third line is going to be 2 inches up from the bottom, about an inch down from where that neck starts. That's not an exact science, but that's about where I've found works well. Okay, so you have a line around there, 2 inches up, a line a 1/4 inch above this neck out, and a line 5/8 of an inch down. Okay, now the next step is that you're going to mark 8 holes around this lower line, the 2 inch up from the bottom line. 8 even holes all the way around it, okay? Easiest way to do that, wrap a piece of paper around the cup, and where the paper crosses over, mark it. That's the circumference of your cup. Lay the paper out flat, measure the distance, the length in millimeters, and divide that by 8. And that's the number of millimeters that you'll make your marks at to get your 8 even marks around the cup. Wrap the paper back around the cup at the line and transfer the marks from the paper back onto that line, and you've got your 8 equal marks, all at the same height because they're on the line that's 2 inches from the bottom of the cup. All right? You're also going to make marks for holes on the line that's a 1/4 inch above the neck out. You're going to do them about 1.5 inches apart, and do the 2 here and 2 on the opposite side. And that's where your 2 skewers are going to go through and provide the pot stand. Okay. Lastly, up at the top, just above the line where you've drawn 5/8 inch down from the top, you're gonna mark 1 hole on opposite sides. So one here, one there. That's where you're gonna hook your wire handle into. All right. Once you've marked all those holes, I like to take like some kind of a steel punch and a hammer and just set it right on the mark and tap it with a hammer lightly. That just kind of seats the tip of the drill bit so it doesn't wander around when you're trying to drill on a curved metal surface. Quick little hole punch, and then you're going to drill 1/8 inch pilot holes very carefully through the outer layer only in all of those spots. Now, the inner layer and the outer layer are separated by about 1/8 of an inch air gap. It's a vacuum until you drill the first hole. And so you want to drill through the outer layer but not damage the inner layer. So just take your time, go slow, you're not in a hurry here. Drill your 8 pilot holes for your jets, drill your holes here for your pot stand, and drill your holes up here for the pot handle, all 1/8 inch, all right? Next, you're gonna take, I'm gonna just check my time here. We're sitting at 3 minutes and 20 seconds, looking good. So next you're gonna take an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel or a Dremel, either one would work, to cut all the way around that line that's 5/8 of an inch down from the top edge. You could probably do this possibly with a hand, like a hacksaw. I don't recommend trying that. Stainless steel is pretty hard to cut. That's gonna be a long, sweaty job, probably get a messy result. If you can use a power tool at all, that's definitely preferable. Just keeping an eye on this to see if it's boiling. I hear some good action going on, but not quite yet. All right, so you're gonna take a power tool, you're gonna cut your line all the way around, very carefully. Again, you wanna cut the outer layer, but not damage the inner layer. On this one, I just scratched the inner layer a little bit, no big deal, as long as you don't cut through the inner layer. But just take your time and you'll be fine. All right, so you're going to cut carefully all the way around that line, the outer layer only, all the way around, nice, clean, steady cut. And when you're done with that, you should be able to twist the inner layer out of the outer layer. And you'll have your two parts, just like you saw here, okay? Take some sandpaper, take some files, whatever you've got, clean those edges up. I like to do nice, neat, tidy work. I don't want any burrs left to catch my hands. And so take the time to clean those two cut edges up before you move on, okay? We're sitting at right at 5 minutes, and I would expect this to be boiling very shortly. Okay, so now you've got your outer layer and your inner layer separate, and you've cleaned up that edge, and there goes the boil. Let's just have a quick look at the time here. 5 minutes, 16 seconds. I'm going to lift this off the heat, just like that. Okay, we're going to let that alcohol burn off, and I'm going to finish telling you how to finish these last steps up. Okay, so you got your outer shell with all the pilot holes drilled in it. We drilled the pilot holes before we cut the two apart because it just is a stiffer, easier to work with unit before you take the two halves and separate them, the two layers and separate them. You could drill those 1/8 inch holes after you've separated them if it makes you feel more comfortable. But now you're going to take a step drill bit. This is a step drill bit, and it lets you just kind of drill in until you get to the size that you want. I drill these 8 jets out to 7/16 of an inch. You could start with 3/8 of an inch and see how that goes, and then go bigger if you want. I've settled on 7/16. You could probably get away with a 1/2 inch if you don't have 7/16. It's not super critical, the jet size. For me, I'm using 7/16 of an inch. So I'm going to drill my 8 pilot holes out to 7/16 of an inch so that I now have these 8 flame jet ports. Okay? At that point, all that's left is to make some kind of a little wire handle to hook into this inner layer in the 2 holes that you drilled. I'm not going to go into detail on that. I can do a more detailed video later if you would like to see that. Okay, and then you're ready to test. Pretty simple setup. You're done. This cook kit, again, that took 5 minutes and 17 seconds, 5 minutes 16 seconds to boil 3 cups of water and using just a bit over 1 ounce of alcohol. If you're going to boil 2 cups, it's under 5 minutes. It's 4 minutes something. Very, very fast burn time, and that's because of the way this shell channels the heat up and around your pot, holds it in tight. You get a much more efficient burn. So yes, it's a little heavier because you're carrying the weight of the shell, but the trade-off is you may need less alcohol because of the efficiency of the burn. So in the end, the weight difference is actually not that much greater. All right, and the durability, the simplicity of this system is just fantastic. Final thoughts, you can burn wood in this as well. If you run out of alcohol out there, you can burn wood. Just little small sticks, little chunks of it in there, and this will work just fine. A little bit slower burn times, but you're sustainable indefinitely. If it's that kind of a situation where you're on a long-term hike or you get stuck, you run out of alcohol, your system converts right over. You're burning wood, you're burning straw, whatever you've got right in there, and you're good to go. So this is a fantastic system. I recommend it strongly. And I told you I would just mention this cozy. This cozy, the idea is, it's made out of 1/8 inch craft foam that you would get at Walmart in the craft section. Just a flat sheet of it, and formed it into this cozy. I lined the inside with aluminum bond tape that I happen to have for a little extra reflectivity of heat. I don't know that that's necessary, just what I did. And I covered the outside with Gorilla Tape just to give it some durability. The idea is when you pull your hot water off the fire, you can slide it into this cozy, and now you can actually pick it up and handle it even though it's boiling water. That will also help retain heat if you're doing oatmeal in here or noodles in here that you want to kind of retain the heat, let them slow cook. That cozy will keep this water pretty hot for quite a while. And finally, it keeps the inner pot from rattling around in the outer pot, so you have a nice, quiet, tight setup when it's in your pack. Okay? That's all I wanted to show you for today. We could do a more detailed actual build video at another time where I take one of these and show you all the steps. I just wanted to give you a quick tour of my favorite killer $10 DIY cook kit and let you see it in action. I hope that you're able to take this and it's useful to you out there in the outdoors. Go out there and make some cool stuff and have fun.